let's talk about finding fallacies in an argument. Now, before we can really do that, we really need to know what is a fallacy. So basically, let's put it in real people words, it's an error in reasoning that will undermine the logic of your argument. So think about when you are in a conversation with somebody and they just make some off-the-wall remark and you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. It's probably a fallacy, okay? So people use this a lot. I would almost call it like a defense mechanism. Now, with this, there are a lot of different types of fallacies. So let's kind of just go through them in an example of each one. So first one, ad hominem. This is an attack on the character of a person rather than his or her opinions or arguments. So instead of saying like, I don't like what he said, we might say something like, 8th graders can't help decorate for the dance. They're lazy. They'll ruin it for everyone. Really? Like, that's just an attack on the people rather than actually anything they've actually done. There's no proof that they're lazy and are going to ruin it. We're just attacking them. That is a fallacy. Ad populum. It's an emotional appeal. Okay, so now we're trying to really appeal to somebody's, and like patriotism is a big one, right? If you are a true American, you hear people like use that phrase and attach it to something. So in this case, you would support the rights of people to choose whatever ice cream topping they want. Ice cream has nothing to do with being an American, right? But if you attach that patriotism, or it could be religion or something in politics, then it kind of like brings this emotion into it instead of dealing with facts, right? So a lot of fallacies are dealing with trying to use opinion, perhaps, or draw on people emotions. Ignorantum. This is when you argue that something is true because it hasn't been proven false, right? So the moon does not have a dark side. I haven't seen it. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? Just because you can't prove something is false doesn't mean it isn't, right? Okay. A slippery slope. Now, this, I think, happens a lot with people, right? We say, oh my gosh, if this happens, then this has happened, then this has happened. Oh, we can't do any of it. Which that's not exactly going to happen, right? We can't do A because if we do, then this, and this will all happen and the world will end. Probably not. If we ban large SUVs because their emissions are bad for the environment, the government will ban all cars. So we should not ban large SUVs. Now, I hope we don't ban large SUVs. I drive one. But the point is, it's taking one thing and then blowing it up, right? Like a current thing that we're talking about, gun control. If we put control, they're going to take all of our guns. That's the slippery slope argument, right? If we want to do one little thing, it's going to explode and everything is going to happen. Probably not. It's called a fallacy. Hasty generalization. It's a conclusion based on insufficient or biased evidence. Right? We see one thing and then we're like, oh, obviously this is true. So as an example, I haven't even opened the book, but I can already tell it's going to be boring, right? I hear this a lot when I talk. I do a lot of reading. When I talk to people like, oh, that cover looks boring. Are you kidding me? Like, that's a hasty generalization. Like making a conclusion based on nothing. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. Conclusion that assumes if A occurred after B, then B must have caused that, right? I got a parking ticket in lot D. You always get a ticket if you park in lot D. Probably not. You probably get a ticket in lot D if you didn't pay the meter in time, if you parked in an illegal spot, right? There are reasons you get a parking ticket, not just because you're in lot D. A genetic fallacy. This is if we're basing this on the origins of a person or an idea or the theory. I actually hear this a lot from my friends. This wine is the best quality because it comes from France, right? I have friends that will only drink wine from specific regions because that's the only thing that's good. Well, that might be their favorite, but that's not exactly like true. It's just a fallacy. Begging the question or claim. The conclusion that the writer should prove is validated within the claim. Polluting and filthy cars should be banned. Why? What? There's just so much there, right? We have a fallacy. Circular argument. This restates the argument rather than proving it. When we talk about people talking in circles, this is what we're talking about. My best friend is a good communicator because he speaks effectively. Yes, a good communicator speaks effectively. Those things are, you didn't prove anything. You're just making two statements, right? So that's a thing. Either or, a false dichotomy, a conclusion that oversimplifies the argument by reducing it to only two sides or choices, right? Thinking black or white, no gray. The big one would be politics. If you're not a Democrat, you must be a Republican. No, there are so many things in between and all around and everything else. There is a lot of gray area in that world. It's not just black and white. Very few things in the world are black and white. A lot of gray. Red herring. Ignores the question being asked. It's just a distraction. We do this a lot if we're trying to avoid things, right? Mining lithium is not safe. But how else are we supposed to make efficient rechargeable batteries? Okay, so notice how we shifted from the not safe piece to, oh, it's got to be efficient rechargeable batteries. Now we're appealing to something else. We're changing conversations. We're doing a distraction of, oh, you're right. Efficient rechargeable batteries are important. Oh, we've taken away from the focus of the problem. Straw man. This move oversimplifies an opponent's viewpoint and then attacks the hollow argument. So it's kind of like oversimplifying. So making something, breaking it down, and then attacking one little piece instead of looking at the overall big picture. So people who don't support public napping hate the tired. Then you're like, well, I don't hate anybody. I just don't think people should sleep in public, right? This is kind of the piece, right? There's a lot more to public napping than hating the tired, right? It's a big, big thing. So these are just all different types of fallacies that we could potentially talk about. Okay, thanks all.